Hello guys, here in session 8 part 2 now we are going to focus on how to deal with two-dimensional array. Okay, and obviously we'll see how to declare a two-dimensional array, how to instantiate it, how to initialize that array, and obviously how to access it. Okay, so let's try to understand what is two-dimensional array first of all. Two-dimensional array, we can say this is array of arrays, or we can say this is an array which is containing more than one rows and one or more columns. Okay, till now with single dimensional array we had only data arranged in a single row and multiple columns were there. Now, as I have told you in the beginning of array, it is possible sometime I want to arrange a data in some grid or table like format. So there is a possibility that we can have multiple rows of data. Okay, so in such situation, we are supposed to go for two-dimensional array to store this data. So what is exactly two-dimensional array? So it is nothing but it is an array which can have more than one rows and one or more columns, or in other words we can say it is array of arrays. Means what? Let's see this example here. Consider this is array A. Now here you are able to see your data arrangement, or these array elements are arranged in number of rows and number of columns. Okay, so how many rows you are able to see in this arrangement? That is 3 rows and 3 columns. So we can say this is an array of 3 by 3. Means what? Maximum it can hold 3 by 3 means 9 elements. So capacity of this would be 9 elements. But how these 9 elements are arranged? They are arranged right now here in row number 1. That is, if we consider its index, okay, as we have already studied. So array index always gets started with 0. Okay, so in what is the speciality of these 2D arrays? That is, to access any element, now there is only not a single index which is sufficient. We should think about its other index also. I mean, as we are talking about in which row it is, I should talk about in which column it is. So in specific row and specific column intersection, a particular element can be accessed. So here, if you are able to see, in row 0 I have few elements, in row 1 I have few elements, in row 2 I have few elements. Means what? There are 3 rows and row index is starting with 0. So when I talk about row 0, in that row there are 3 columns again. Okay, so in third column, that is column 2, as per the index, the last index of that column will be 2 because total number of columns are 3. So column index also starts from 0 to 1. I mean 0 to 2 in this case. Okay, so here a particular element if I want to access from this specific array, what I will use, that is I will use both indices of it, that is row index and column index. Means if you just say if I want to access element 7, then I could have said 7, it is nothing but A of 0 0. Okay, so it is the element at 0th row and 0th column intersection. Likewise, if I want to access this 0, I would have said A of 0 1, A of 0 2 for 56, like that. So here, if you see for second row, I mean 34 if I want to access, 34 could have been accessed like A of 2 0. So A of 2 0, A of 2 means what? The third row. And from third row, which column data I want to access? First column data. That's why its index is what? Column index is 0. So A of 2 0, A of 2 1, A of 2 2, that is how you could have accessed this. Okay, so this is the arrangement of your data which is with multiple rows and multiple columns. But sometime it may happen you have multiple rows available but you may have only single column also. Take example of this array B. So here I am able to see there are 3 rows. The data is arranged in 3 rows, but it is having only 1 column. Okay, so this is what? 3 by 1 kind of data arrangement. This is an array with dimension 3 by 1. So first dimension always talks about how many rows are there. Second dimension will always talk about how many columns are there. So 3 by 1 means maximum how many elements it can hold, that is 3. So though there is a single column, but since there are multiple rows, it would be called as two-dimensional array only. Okay, so here if you just see, if I want to access 7, I could have accessed it like b of 0 0. If I want to access 89, then I could have accessed it like b of 1 0, means first row 0th column, and likewise b of 2 0. Okay, so I guess you are a little bit clear about how we can arrange data in two-dimensional array. So the another phrase here we have said, that is, it is array of arrays. Means what? Here in this case, if you see, this all or whole array is an array of this 0th array, first array and second array. So in this 2D array, there are number of single dimensional arrays. Are you able to observe? That's why we can call it as array of array also. Okay, array of arrays. Okay, now let's come to the point how we can declare two-dimensional array. So these steps are same like your single dimensional array only, but now here we have to take care of its second dimension also. So while declaring this 2D array, obviously we'll specify the data type, after that some array name, and after that or before that, okay, you will have two square brackets. So first square bracket would be talking about maximum how many rows you would like to handle in it, and second square bracket will talk about maximum how many columns it would have. Okay, take example of it. So here if I have two-dimensional array A, which is integer type array, so it could have been declared like this. So integer array A with two square brackets, or integer then square brackets, and then we are specifying array name. So here again the same point, once you declare it, so it is just notification to your JVM ki boss, this will be my two-dimensional array and it would be holding only integer type of values. It won't be actually allocating some memory over there. In memory heap it will not actually allocate a memory. So if I want to use this array, first of all it needs to be instantiated. No, some memory allocation has to be done for this. So how it can be done? So let's turn toward that specific step. So if I want to allocate a memory, okay, for initialization of my array, then we'll say array name is equal to, we'll use a new keyword, okay, which allocates memory dynamically into memory heap. So this 2D array is also a kind of object only, and that will be allocated where? In memory only. Okay, so we'll say new data type, and in first square bracket I will talk about its first dimension, that is how many rows would be there, its size, it should be integer type, and obviously in second square bracket we'll talk about how many columns it will have, how many maximum column it will have, okay, so that also will be purely integer type. Okay, say this example. So again, if I want to have integer type array A, assume it has got declared, so I'm saying A is equal to new integer in first square bracket 3, in second square bracket 3, or both the things, means declaration and instantiation and initialization. Okay, it can be done with a single line by saying integer type array A is equal to new integer type array with rows, maximum number of rows 3 and maximum number of columns 3. So when we declare this, what will happen? Obviously in memory heap, okay, this array space, memory for this array will be allocated dynamically only. Okay, so since now it is two-dimensional array, is it like it will allocate memory also in tabular form? No, it will be allocated in continuous manner only. Please understand this. So how it will be allocated? So now when I declared this array with a dimension 3 by 3, means I declared its maximum capacity as how much? To store 9 elements. So each element is of integer type. So 9 fours are, okay, 36, what you can say, bytes. Okay, 9 fours are, yes, so 36 bytes will be, what you can say, allocated in memory in continuous manner, and they would be like this. So are you able to see the first element? Okay, now on very first screen I had shown you just to understand how this data is stored in number of rows and number of columns. So here I had mentioned maximum 3 rows and maximum 3 columns. So in first row how many columns would be there? Maximum 3. In second, how many columns? Again 3. In third row, how many maximum columns? 3. In that way, continuously for 9 elements that memory is allocated for this. So first 3 elements, if you are able to see, first 3 elements will be considered as members from what you can say first row. So how they are being accessed? They are being accessed with 2 indices now. There are 2 indexes we are going to maintain. That is what? 0, 0 means what? This is the element from 0th row and 0th column. Then this is the element from 0th row and first column. Then this 0 is from 0th row and second column. Likewise, next 3 elements, they are from first row. I mean from what you can say? First index number for that row is 1, means what? This is second row. So it is 1 0, 1 1 and 1 2. Likewise, from third row elements would be like 2 0, I mean A of 2 0, A of 2 1, A of 2 2. This is how it would be considered. So overall this data will be stored in continuous memory allocations only, and obviously its reference will go where? In stack. Okay, now in some situations, see here your array has got initialized with a default values. Okay, here your array has got initialized with default values. In case if I know the array elements already, like what array element should go in specific position, okay, then even I can use array literal. The concept of array literal we have already seen with 1D array. We can use array literal also to what you can say initialize this 2D array as well. So how it would go? Say its syntax. So here I am just declaring this is a integer type 2-dimensional array. Okay, is equal to new integer. Here I am not giving any kind of capacity of rows and columns. Instead, in curly bracket I am directly specifying these are the elements from first row, then these are the elements from second row, and then these are the elements from third row. Means how many rows would be there as its capacity? Maximum 3 rows are there. Okay, and in each row how many elements are there? How many columns would be there? That is, in each row there would be 3 columns. So this is how also it can be instantiated and initialized. So here in memory automatically a location will be allocated for this. Total 9 locations would be there. 9 fours are that many bytes would be what you can say allocated into memory continuously, and the value of first row, that would be 0 0 0 1 and 0 2 index value will be initialized at the same time. Likewise the first row value will be initialized. Likewise the second row value will be initialized. Or same thing can be what you can say done with another index, I mean another syntax as well. That is, here in this syntax, if you omit this part, if you don't write new int with 2 square brackets, it's alright. You can directly initialize it by saying integer 2-dimensional array A is equal to, directly in square brackets, I mean in curly brackets, you can initialize the values in it like this, and when this array will be allocated into memory, that would be directly with the specified values that you have given. Okay, this is how it would be initialized. Okay, so this is initializing your array by using array literal. So in same sentence, in same line here, if you see, I'm declaring the array as a 2-dimensional array, I'm allocating the memory for it also, and at the same time I'm initializing it also. Are you clear? But if you are doing it with a earlier style, then I may need to access that each row and column index to put some meaningful value, or I want to access that particular row and column intersection value to display value from it. Means in case if I want to access that array element from 2D array, so how to do that? Okay, so let's say this. It's a very simple thing. Now, as I have already told you, array index, that is row index and column index, it always starts with 0. Both row and column index, they always starts with 0. So if I want to access any element from array, then I have to specify which row and which column index you want to access. So both row and column index has to be specified. Okay, take example. So here there is an array A. Now here actually you should have one more square bracket. Let me have that mistake, I mean recorrected here. So with this I should mention another what you can say, square bracket as well. I mean, there are two indexes, no? I have to take care of both here. Okay, so assume there are, what you can say, these two square brackets. First is for row index and second one is for column index. Okay, so integer array A is equal to, we are saying, new integer 2 by 2. So this is what array of 2 by 2 means. What it will maximum have 2 rows and 2 columns. Okay, means it can have 1 row 2 columns, it can have 2 rows 1 columns also, but it cannot have 3 rows and 2 columns, it cannot have 3 rows and 3 columns, it will be over capacity of it. So when we declared this specific array, what happened? So here in memory, obviously this memory is allocated into memory heap, but these are the values which has got initialized into your array by default. No, array has got initialized by default with which values? All zeros. Okay, now suppose I want to put some value here at A00. I want to put some value for 0th row and 0th column. I want to assign some value for 0th row and first column. Likewise, some value for first row 0th column and first row first column. Then what we would have said. So for that purpose, we are supposed to write the statements like this, no? A of 00 is equal to say 20. Then A of 01 is equal to say 29. A of 10 is equal to 67, right? And A of 11 is equal to 20. So when I say that in that specific memory, so obviously these all references, A of 00, A of 01, A of 10 and A of 11, they would be there on stack. Okay, here for your understanding we have drafted these memory locations are being identified by their indices like this. Okay, for your purpose I have just drafted it like this. Okay, so here now when I assign the values by using this row index and column index, then actually what happens, your array will be initialized like this. But now it is a very small array, 2 by 2 means only 4 elements I have to assign. So it's affordable for me in terms of coding. But if it is some bigger, say 4 by 4 or 5 by 5 array, then are you going to have these many lines drafted? Are you going to write A of 0, that many statements over there? Then let's go for the faster technique, no, which will help me to assign the values to my 2D array very easily. And how we can do that? So just see, we would have used for loop within for loop. Okay, this is important thing now. So to access a single dimensional array, what we had done? To access single dimensional array, we just, what you can say, utilize this outer for loop, right? We have just, we have utilized a simple for loop, in other words, which was helping me to access the column index, because there was only one row, no? So obviously when I say only A of 1 means from that specific row first column value. But now here I have to also talk about from which row and which column. So are you able to see? I have taken this outer sider for loop. It will help me to access row number of that column, of that array. So we are making use of it to access row numbers. So maximum how many rows are there? That is 2, no? Means its index will run from 0 to 1. So this outer for loop, let it go from 0 to 1. So we are saying I less than equal to 1 and I plus plus. So for 0th row, now I am interested to access first column, second column in that way. So when I is 0 means when I am dealing with a 0th row, with inner for loop, I am trying to access the element from its first column and second column. So inner for loop mein we are using J, which is representing the column index. It is also running from 0 up to 1, and here we are saying A of ij. A of ij means row, column and what you can say, row number and column number. So I here is representing what? A row number, okay, row index, and j here it is representing what? A column index. So when I is equal to 0, when it comes to inside for loop, j is also 0. So A of 0, 0, and you are getting a value from user side for that specific row and column index. Likewise, when j becomes 1 now, it is still less than equal to 1. Okay, so it will come inside. Row number is still 0. I's value is still 0. So for row 0 and column 1 means A of 0, 1, I am trying to access new value here. Means When this first iteration of outer for loop will happen, I can say I have accessed all values from respective columns from that row. Means first row values I have accessed or initialized or assigned, whatever you say. So this is how we can use nested for loop to access the elements from 2D array in efficient way. Okay, now what we'll try to do, we'll just try to experience this thing through coding. Okay, so let's go back to Eclipse first. Yes guys, so let's try to handle our 2D array and let's try to do it with what you can say array literal first, the easiest way that we'll see first. Okay, so here you have let's see this syntax, the first approach first of all. Okay, so I have declared this integer type array A as a two-dimensional array. This is just the declaration of it. Okay, and on next statement I am trying to specify it like this is the array of 3 by 3, means what, 3 rows and 3 columns. Okay, so when this will be allocated into memory, continuous 9 by 4, that is some locations will be allocated into memory in memory heap, and it will have capacity to hold how many elements? 9, and by default that elements will be initialized by which values? That is all zeros, right? So here if you want to know, like when this array has got created like this, it has got initialized with the default values, just to track like maximum how many rows it is having right now. We have seen one of the definition of 2D array, no? It is array of arrays. Okay, so I want to know how many arrays it is containing. Okay, means in other words how many rows are there in this 2D array. So if I want to know that, I can say a dot length. So here when you say a dot length, it talks about how many rows are there. Please notice it carefully. So it will say me there are 3 rows. Okay, now what I want to do, I want to just what you can say display the elements from this. Currently which elements are there in it? Okay, so array elements we are trying to display, so we are using nested for loop. Okay, so here with a nested for loop what we are saying, say for I is equal to 0, I less than a dot length. A dot length means how many rows are there. So right now 3 rows are there, no? So 3 rows means this I is allowed to run from 0 to 2. So a dot length will be 3. Okay, so I will go up to 2, means I will be able to access 0th row, first row and second row, like that. Okay, now inside this there is another for loop. In another for loop what we are saying, we are utilizing it to go through each column. So here for integer j is equal to 0, j less than a of I dot length, point to be noted. Here what we are saying, a of I dot length, a of I, when I first time come inside for loop, what is i's value? It's 0. So a of I means a of 0. A of 0 means the first row from that specific 2D array. So first row ka length, that is how many columns are there in the first row. So in first row how many columns are there? 3. In fact right now in our case in each row there are 3 columns because we declared the array of 3 by 3. But just I wanted to show you this dynamic technique. Okay, so here you are just picking up whichever row you wanted to deal, and this specific row it is having how many columns inside it. So in a for loop we are just running it from j is equal to 0, j less than a of I dot length, j plus plus, and we are trying to display out the element. How we are displaying the element, just see, we are saying a of ij. So first row elements I want to display in a single line. Okay, because my output also should be readable and understandable. So all first row elements I want to display in single line. That's why we have used print here. While print I am just displaying a of ij, the respective element, and after that some gap, some white space. Okay, so when this for loop will work, the elements from 0th row will be displayed. Now when your j increases in such a way that it, what you can say, makes this condition false, it comes out of for loop, means j becomes 4. Okay, yeah, j becomes 3. Okay, so 3 less than 3 is not true, no, that's why it will come inside. Okay, and when I come inside, my first row has got printed. Now I expect my next row should be displayed on next line in output. That's why I skip the line just by saying system.out.println, and then it will turn towards next i's value, that is now I will become how much? 1. So 1 is less than 3, no? That's why it will come inside. Now j is 0, j less than a of 1. A of 1 means I am dealing with what you can say, second row. Okay, so a of 1 means second row from this 2D array. The length of that, a of 1 dot length is also how much? 3. So this also will run for j is equal to 0, j is equal to 1 and j is equal to 2, and meanwhile on second row each element will be displayed with specific row and column index like a of ij, and when it comes out that line also will be skipped. Next time now I become how much? It becomes 2. 2 is still less than 3, it will come inside. Here a of 2 means for the third row, the length of that it will measure. Okay, so its length is also right now 3. In third row also we have how many columns? 3 columns. Okay, so j will run up to less than 3, means 0, 1 and 2. J will run up to j is equal to 0, j is equal to 1 and j is equal to 2. And on third row also we'll be able to see all these values. So when we quit from this, next time when I becomes 3, this condition gets failed. 3 less than 3 gets failed, no? That's why it quits. Okay, so meanwhile we'll display, we would have accessed element of this specific array and it would show it in a default way. Your array has got initialized with default values, that is 0 0 0 0 0 0, in that way. Okay, so this has happened because I just, what you can say, declared array, I allocated memory for it and I immediately try to display it out. But suppose the another syntax to do this, if I have declared my array as a two-dimensional array like this, okay, I said a with a two-dimensional array 4, 5, 6, 8 and 7, 3. So here by observing this data, JVM internally will understand, see how many rows are there. Each row is being separated by comma here. So this is first row, this is your second row, okay, and this is your third row. So this is an array of 3 by 2. Are you able to see? Because there are 3 rows and 2 columns. So when I try to, what you can say, run this. Now if you are, this is another alternative. Here if you don't want to say a dot length, this is a dynamic way. Whatever number of rows and columns it will have, it will pick up. So this is always better actually. This technique is always better to access your array. But if you feel this is tough for understanding and if you want to do it in another alternative way, I can now directly say, that is run it like specified up to specified number of rows and specified number of columns. Means if I directly give it like this, for I is equal to 0. Now I know there are 3 rows right now. So I will directly say less than 3. Okay, and I know in each row how many columns are there. There are 2 columns. So I will say less than 2. So j will run for j is equal to 0 and j is equal to 1. And here when I access these elements, you are able to say it like this. Okay, this is another approach, another syntactical way how you can initialize your array using literal. Okay, and the third syntax, same thing can be achieved like this also. Here I am declaring two-dimensional array by saying, what is it? New integer, array of, integer, a is an array of integer which is two-dimensional array, is equal to new int square brackets for row and columns, and then I am saying into bracket here in this curly bracket. If you see first curly bracket, it is what, a first row. Okay, this is 6, 8 is a second row and this is what, a third row. Understanding? So again it is array of 3 by 2, 3 rows and 2 columns. So in this way also if you initialize it, you will be able to see the output in same manner. These are the array elements which has got initialized, and this initialization we did using array literal. I hope you are clear with this. Now in case if I want to get the elements in array from user side, then how to do that? Okay, let's see this example. So in this case, in this specific main method, I am asking to my user. See, I have utilized scanner because I want to scan the input from keyboard. As an array element, I want to get it from keyboard side. Okay, so I'm asking to my user, like, enter how many rows and columns you have, you want to have in 2D array. So my user will be prompted to enter row numbers that he is interested in. So let me get that how many rows I want. Likewise, I will be prompting my user enter how many columns he want. He will be entering it into columns, what he can say, variable, and accordingly then I am declaring my 2D array here by saying new integer number of rows and columns as a 2 dimensions that we have indicated. So for that many rows and that many columns, this array would be created. Okay, so here now if I say what is the length of array, that is nothing but how many number of rows are there in this array. So that is nothing but a dot length. Now let me get the values for this array from user side. So I am asking my user to enter elements. Okay, so while entering elements here I am again using 2-dimensional array for loop. Nested for loop. Okay, and here inside this for loop, outer for loop is handling number of rows. Okay, and I run this for I is equal to 0, I less than. Now I am saying less than rows because I had mentioned no these many rows I want. Okay, so if I said say 4 rows, then this outer for loop is going to run from I is equal to 0 to 3. Okay, and for each row how many columns, that also I have entered. So I am running it up to j is equal to 0 up to j less than columns, and each time I am assigning the value to a of ij, which I will enter from keyboard here. Understood? This is how I will initialize array elements. Okay, by using scanner object here, by getting it from keyboard, and this is how you will use your nested for loop structure for that. And obviously to display it out we are using this technique. Okay, now if you want to replace it with rows and columns you can, but as I have told you, this is always better to check it dynamically, like how many rows and how many columns are there in each row, how many columns are there rather. So by that way I am just trying to display out number of elements, each element from this array, and that's it. So let's try to run it. So here I am asking to my user, so how many rows and columns you want to have in 2D array, please enter row number. So I entered 4. I want 4 rows. How many column numbers you want? I want 3. So 4 rows and 3 columns means I am going to declare, iske aage I am going to create array of 4 by 3. So total capacity of this array will be to hold 12 elements. So I am going to enter. So here if you see, it is saying me array of, length of this array means number of rows are 4. So array elements for first row I am going to enter. This is first, second, third, fourth. So 4 elements for first row. Okay, likewise I entered only 3 columns. No, let's run it again. I'm ending this. Okay, we'll run this code again. Okay, so it is asking me number of rows. So I said 4 and number of columns 3. So in each row I have to enter 3 columns. So this is first row, second row, third row, and fourth row value that I have entered, and this is what is my array is. Okay, are you understanding how you will get the values from user side, that is from keyboard? Okay, now if you want to have one simple implementation, see what I want, same implementation. I am asking my user how many rows and columns he want to enter. Accordingly I will scan the values from user side. Now what I want to display sum of all elements in each row. I want to display sum of all elements in each row. Okay, so what we did for that, so when I am accessing this array, now I don't want to display the whole array. I am interested in displaying of sum of all elements in each row. So here I am just accessing each row just by saying outer for loop I is equal to 0, it is going up to a dot length I plus plus. Okay, now here we are just saying considering sum is 0 right now. Okay, and for integer j is equal to 0 I am just moving it up to in each row how many columns are there, and each time I am just trying to take a sum of all elements from that row just by saying sum is equal to sum plus a of ij. So when I come out of this for loop I will be ready with the sum of all elements in that row, and when I am out of this for I am just trying to display sum of that row elements. Okay, that's it. So simple logic it is. So let's run this. So here again I am specifying please enter 2 rows and 3 columns. So I'm going to enter 2 row elements. So 3 columns, no? So here there is a first row. From first row 3 elements are there. Likewise, I'm going to enter second row and 3 elements, means 3 columns are there. So for each row, so for each row number 1, what is the sum of elements? 5 plus 6 plus 7, that is 18. And what is the sum of elements from second row? That is 8 plus 2 plus 4, means what? 14. Likewise, you may try to display sum of all elements in a particular column. So column wise sum of elements you can display. Likewise, you can find out minimum of each row. You can find out maximum of each row. Okay, average of each row element. Okay, so many things can be done once you understand the technique. Okay, clear with it? Let's see one more simple example where I want to find out the transpose of matrix. Okay, so transpose means what? Suppose I have some 2 by 2 array, means I have some elements like here for your understanding, I will just show you. Consider this is what my array elements are. Okay, so here say 4, 6, 7, 8. So 4 and 6 are what? They are the row elements. Okay, and 7 and 8, they are the second row element. Now when I want to take a transpose of it, transpose is nothing but making row elements as a column elements. Okay, so here first row elements are 4 and 6. So in transpose what it should happen? 4 and 6 should be the first column elements. And 7 and 8 are the elements from second row. So they should be, what you can say, elements from your second column. So the output of transpose, it should be like this. Are you understanding? So if I want to get a transpose, what I am trying to do? So this element is what? A of 0, 0. This element is of A of 0, 1. Okay. So same 4, I am trying to make it as A of 0, 0. No doubt. But A of 0, 1 ko, I am trying to make A of 1, 0. Are you understanding? And this is happening with each element. Okay. So what is the logic to do that? While accessing your array elements, you will just assign, you will obviously this transpose, to hold this as a transpose of that matrix or of that 2D array, you have to create one more empty 2D array so that you will store a transpose of it into that array. Okay. So actual logic, suppose this is what my array A. This is what my array A, and if I want to store transpose of it into array B, so array B I will create with minimum row and column sizes as that of this array. This is step 1. And in step 2, while accessing each element of this array A, okay, means while going through each element by using nested for loop, while going through each element, what logic I will just specify? That is array of, B of Ji is equal to A of Ij. Okay, so same thing we are just trying to do here. Just check it. I'm just running, same steps. We are accessing how many rows and we are getting how many rows and columns from user side. I'm allocating that array with that rows and column sizes. Okay, and I'm accessing, I'm getting values from keyboard. So array A is ready here. I'm scanning a value of array of A. Okay, so for each A of Ij, I'm just trying to put the values here. Okay, now with that same size here, I'm declaring array B also. With same size, I'm declaring array B also. So here, this array B is with size same number of, what you can say, same in the sense, now try to understand. While taking transpose from first array, whichever number of rows are there, they would be becoming columns, no? Okay, in each row how many elements are there, they would become elements in column. So it should be with column number of rows into my second array, and in my first array, whichever columns are, whichever number of columns are there, that many rows has to be there in the another array. So I have declared that array with rows number of first array as a column numbers here. Okay, I hope you understand. So while taking a transpose of this matrix now, we are trying to access each element from first array. We are saying for integer I is equal to 0, I less than a dot length I plus plus. For integer j is equal to 0, j less than a of I dot length j plus plus. Okay, so here we are just saying b of ji, please understand, b of ji is equal to, we are saying a of ij. Okay, so here the element from ith row and jth column of array A will be assigned to jth row and ith column. Okay, this is what it will make as a transpose of that whole array. And when I come out of it, when I come out of this for loop, array B will be ready with me as a transpose of array A. And let's try to display that transposed array, that is array B we are trying to display here with our normal routine way. Outer for loop is accessing rows, inner for loop is accessing columns, and here at each intersection of row and column what value is there we are trying to display out. Okay, and that's it. Here we are just skipping the line after displaying each row and we are coming out. Okay, so this is how it would work. Let's see how it runs. So I'm entering, say, 2 rows 3 columns. So these are the elements of first row and these are the elements of second row. So when I take a transpose of it, here in transpose you will be able to see 3 rows and 2 columns. Okay, so 3, 4, 5 was the first row. Now that has become first column over here, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and 6, 7, 8 is the second row, that has become the second column. This is what a transpose of matrix that you will find out. Okay, so I hope you are clear with how to arrange what you can say elements in 2-dimensional, that is in rows and columns way, in grid like fashion, and how to use a 2-dimensional array, how to declare it, how to assign values to it, how to instantiate it, etc. Okay, so just for your practice purpose, what you can do, you try to get a 2D array declared of say 4 by 4. Okay, and you just try to check whether that array is a scalar matrix. What is scalar matrix? That is nothing but all diagonal elements, major diagonal elements. Major diagonal elements means what? It is from left to right, whichever diagonal elements you get, that is your major diagonal elements. If they are unique, okay, they are same, then you can say that is what? That is one of the condition, and rest of the elements should be what? They should be 0. Okay, so get your array created in such a way so that it will be your, what you can say, scalar matrix. Check whether that array is a scalar matrix or no. Okay, also one more assignment you may try, that is get the elements for 2 different what you can say arrays from user side. Let's have your array A 2 by 2 and array B 2 by 2, and add respective element from each array and try to have its sum stored into third array. Obviously third array should be of 2 by 2 only. So while doing addition and subtraction of your 2D array, please mind it, number of rows and number of columns from first row has to be same, okay, for second row also. That such 2 arrays with same number of rows and columns only can be added or subtracted, and the respective elements addition and subtraction you try to store into third array. Okay, are you clear? So this is how to work with 2-dimensional array. Okay, so here our array concept gets finished. Okay, and I expect you to do lots of assignments with this. Okay, there is a concept of jagged array also. Okay, there is a concept of jagged array also. So jagged array means what? You have number of rows in your array, but in each row not necessary like there would be same number of columns. So in first row there are 3 columns, in second row there are say 5 columns, in third row there are say some 7 columns. So such kind of arrangement of data, it is a 2D only, but in each row number of columns are different. So this is what? A jagged array. Okay, and you can access it with the method that I have shown you. While accessing the elements, you can use that specific technique that we have used in nested for loop. Okay, so these are all concepts of 2D array. Overall array gets finished over here. Okay, so if you have assignments, whatever assignments I have given to you, okay, if you have just done that some 5 to 6 assignments, the one that I have demonstrated you and one that I have told you, what you can say, while discussion, okay, you would be better confident with this kind of array as well. Okay, so let's stop over here with array concept now. Thank you.